so much Cradle. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I'm Andrew, and today I have got some book reviews for you. But before we get to those book reviews, make sure you are liking and subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that said guys, I went a bit nuts at the beginning of the month and basically just chucked out my TBR. And in 3 days, I read 3 Cradle books. That's right, we are going to be talking about Ghostwater, number 5, Underlord, number 6, and Uncrowned, number 7 of the Cradle series by Will White. And the reason I kind of did this is we've got book 10 releasing, and I kind of want to just experience that book as it comes out. And I think it's coming out next month. I think it's Reaper. And also, when Patrick Leo tells you, hey, catch up, you go and catch up. So, yeah, so I'm definitely trying my very best to get caught up on Cradle, guys. I had a fantastic time reading these 3 books. They're very quick reads. They're each about 330 pages. Back in my Skysworn review, I said that I thought Skysworn was going to be kind of a platform to launch the series off into. And I can definitely say I was correct. Guys, like, Ghostwater is just, this book is pure, just perfection. Literally, this is progression fantasy at its very best. If you don't like progression fantasy, Cradle's probably not for you. It's a lot of fun. It's got great found family. You've heard me say this many, many times. Basically, what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about each book, and then each book is going to be non-spoiler, so I'll have this cut up into sections, so you can go to timestamps in the description. So if you haven't read a specific book, you can just do your jumps. But we're going to start right here with Ghostwater. This is progression fantasy at its best, but this also has like a survival element, because basically Lyndon is now part of the Skysworn, as we saw at the end of the aptly named Skysworn. And so he and Yaren are kind of running missions. They're in part of a cell. But, like, they're not really liked. They're not trusted. You know, Yaren's got her blood shadow. Mercy is an Akura. And Lyndon is a Black Flame. They're not happy with anything that's going on. So they've kind of stuck them all into a cell. And just, they're kind of like, we weren't going to really use you for missions. But, hey, we're kind of, you know, beggars can't be choosers. And so basically what ends up happening is they just start going off. And then they get a call that they need to investigate Ghostwater. And Ghostwater is a pocket world that the monarch Northstrider had created to run some experience. He has since abandoned it some 50 years ago. He was just like, it's a failure. I'm going to write it off. I'm going to leave it packed full of really expensive and tantalizing treasures. And then I'm just going to go do my thing. And so basically a lot of the heralds use it now as a training ground for their true golds to kind of start pushing them towards Underlord. Well, the problem is you know, they're only high golds. I believe at this point, Mercy is only a low gold, Lyndon is a high gold, and so is Yaren. And so when they get dropped in, no, I think, is Lyndon a low gold at the beginning? I don't know, I don't remember. But basically he is way underpowered to be going in there. So they go and they investigate, and they get ambushed by a bunch of true golds who are just, you know, there to advance, and they're there for the treasures, so they're like, hey, I'm gonna kill you. So there's Akuras there, there's Bloodsex there's dragons there's Beast Lord disciples here. You get to, like, a really huge just expansion of this world, and you get to meet a lot of new sects and a lot of new characters. And basically, the party gets split, Lyndon gets stuck, and then has to survive. He's got Orthos with him, which is always great. But you really get to kind of see where the series is gonna go, because we learn about, you know, some later events in the series. And basically we get to see Lyndon just survive and thrive and train and power up. It's like almost like that hyperbolic time chamber from Dragon Ball Z. It was so cool. I had a lot of fun here. We get to see a lot of important Yaren, and we get to see how they kind of think about each other. Now that they're separated and they can't get to each other, they realize what they mean to each other. And so we get to see kind of Mercy and Yaren learn to function as a team, and we get to see Orthos and Lyndon really come together, and we get to see the team dynamics. Meanwhile, Ethan's kind of separated. He's not with the team, so he's kind of doing his thing. And it's really, guys, 5 out of 5, great pacing, great training montages, great progression. Like this was a blast. I was just fist pumping at multiple times throughout this book. That said, if you're watching this, you already know how great Cradle is. Alright, so now that we're done with Ghostwater, we're going to start talking Underlord. This, we're going to do a little bit of Ghostwater spoilers, but basically, at the end of Ghostwater, we start learning about the Uncrowned tournament. And Underlord is basically, what the Uncrowned tournament is the Monarchs hold a competition for their Underlords. You have to be under the age of 35 and an Underlord in order to qualify. Well, now that Yaren and Lyndon are both True Golds on the edge of advancement to Underlord, they kind of need that push. But the Akuras are kind of being pressured by the Dragon faction, and they want to kind of overtake the Akuras. They want to rework everything, and the Akuras aren't, like, really down for that. So they need some really powerful Underlords. But there's not a whole... It's slim pickings right now, because we find out that the reason there aren't a whole lot of Underlords in the Black Flame Empire is that the Madra quality just really isn't up to snuff for refining and getting to the peak of True Gold and then advancing. And so we find out what it takes to become an Underlord. It's a different kind of advancement. Basically, the individual who is trying to break through to the Lord level Sacred Artists needs to have a personal revelation on why they are practicing the Sacred Arts. And it can be kind of a tough, bitter pill to swallow. And so, basically, the Akuras open up their training grounds, and we kind of invite multiple kingdoms into these training grounds to figure out what's going on. And, to figure out how to advance the best. And basically, because Lyndon killed Akura Harmony, but he didn't kill him, but he left him to die. And so Charity, who is a sage and an Akura, is very much got her eye on Lyndon. He didn't technically do anything wrong, but he still slighted an Akura, which is a huge no-no. As we all know, the Akuras run most of the continent. And so basically, they're looking for 3 Sacred Artists to raise up to Underlord to move into this Uncrowned tournament. And Lyndon is very much eyed to be one of these individuals. So basically, these 2 competing kingdoms get brought in. It's like 100 million scales if one of your Sacred Artists gets selected for this tournament. And so there's this training frenzy. One kingdom decides to try and stage a coup and push the other kingdom out. That kingdom, being the Black Flame, gets kicked out. And so then shenanigans ensue. And basically, this entire book is just a mad dash to break through to Underlord. And so we're starting to see some strained dynamics. We're getting some deeper mysteries and everything that evolves around it. And guys, this is just an absolute delight because, again, we're starting to see Lyndon and Yaren really kind of learn how to push their dynamic because they are so close in power at this point. But that said, I don't really want to spoil too much about this because we've got a lot of great moments. We've got some new interesting characters. We really, Dross starts to really evolve as a character. Dross is, of course, the memory construct that Lyndon picked up in Ghostwater. He's fantastic. He's hilarious. He's even funnier than Orthos. So that is the Underlord book, which means it is, of course, time to start talking about Uncrowned. And Uncrowned is the 7th book in the Cradle series. We are now going to talk some Underlord spoilers. And basically, Lyndon ends up breaking through to Underlord. So does Yaren, and so does Mercy. All 3 break through to Underlord. We find out that Mercy basically had this pact with her mother, who is a monarch, and her soul had been veiled/restricted, her iron body taken away. We find out that she's this unmitigated genius of the Akura clan. And oh my god, basically, Charity goes, no, you owe the Akura clan for your slight, for killing Harmony. you're going to come be on our team. You're going to come train with us. And so now we've got that split the party aspect again. And we've kind of got Orthos has left the party. Like, we find out that advancements to Underlord for a Sacred Beast is much different than a Sacred Artist, which is really, really interesting. And so, like, Orthos went off, and he's now in the Sacred Valley at the end of Underlord with with Lyndon's sister. And so, like, we start kind of exploring that relationship just in little snapshots. We're starting to get, like, flashes of what's been going on in Sacred Valley. And also another deeper mystery involved there, which I love the fact that even though we're starting to learn things, we keep getting more deeper mysteries into the world. I love it, love it, love it. But basically now that Yaren and Aethan and I believe the Emperor's little sister are on one team for the Uncrowned tournament, we've got Mercy, Mercy's brother, and then I believe Lyndon for the Akura selection in the Uncrowned tournament. And basically this is kind of like the first, I'd say 75%. Basically half of this is training montage, the other half is the actual tournament itself. We're not going to discuss the tournament because that will be discussed when I do my Wintersteel review. However, you know, we really get to see, because basically Lyndon gets taken away to the Akura lands after having killed the king's son, the rival empire's king's son, who was a pretty decent guy, but like he was like honor bound to listen to his father, and so he goes and, you know, he unfortunately kills him kind of by accident. Like he finally uses an Underlord weapon and it just annihilates this dude at the end of Underlord, and it was really, really cool, but like at the same time you're like, oh, that kind of hurt. But here the Akuras are sneering at Lyndon. He's an outsider. He is not Akura blood. And so basically they all pick on him, but we really kind of get to see Lyndon fill in his inadequacies, you know, because he's progressed really, really far in power, but he's still lacking those core skills. Like he hasn't been properly trained as a Sacred Artist. And so he goes and gets his education essentially on, like, you know, the Akuras fill in his gaps of knowledge. And because of Dross, he can do this really, really quickly. And he gets constantly challenged, constantly dealt tons and tons of blows. He gets pulped by the Akuras. But also, he kind of emerges from the other side better than ever. These 3 books, I can almost kind of see as their own little arc in the, the end of the arc would, of course, be Wintersteel, I believe. I don't have time to jump into it this month. I'm hoping to read Wintersteel and Bloodline next month in preparation for Reaper. Guys, each one of these books was, well, I won't say each one was 5 out of 5, because I gave Uncrowned like a 4.75 out of 5, mainly because of it has a cliffhanger ending. But these 2 right here, 5 out of 5, fantastic progression fantasy. This one, I was just a bit salty that it ends on a cliffhanger. That, of course, I have Wintersteel. I could easily jump into it, but my TBR is a bully and it won't let me. But if you are reading Cradle, you are in for an absolute delight with these 3 entries in this series. It is so good. I love it. I am in Cradle for the long haul. This will be a series I reread for many, many years. That said, guys, let me know in the comments down below what you are thinking of Cradle. Do you love everything that is being introduced in these series, these new characters, the progression, everything? I would love to talk some Cradle in the comments down below. Or if you want to talk on a more regular basis, you can check the description down below for the link to the Wizzly Duo Discord. We would love to have you. And if you want to support the channel on a more regular basis, you can always click that link and sign up for the Patreon. It is not mandatory, but always greatly appreciated. And as always, guys, till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I would love to give a huge thank you to my patrons.